Hello, and welcome to our sewing sangha. You'll find a series of videos here on how to make a rakusu in the Soto Zen tradition, more specifically in the tradition of Upaya Zen Center and Roshi Joan Halifax's lineage. We'll go through each step in detail to help you create your own rakusu. You might want to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can find it again easily, and click on the notification bell so you'll learn when new videos are posted. If you have questions or comments, please post them in the comment section below. We'll do our best to answer them. I'm Cheryl Dyson, and today we'll be talking about how to attach the ring to your rakusu's face and then connect that to the straps. So let's go to the downward facing camera and get started. Here we go. Now we have strip L. So this is a strip that we'll be working with today for creating a way to attach the ring to your rakusu. So as you take a look at this strip, you'll be, here we go, you'll be taking the strip and folding it in half the way we've done for many of these other strips and for your the other parts of your strap. You're going to mark a 1/2 inch seam allowance and connect these with the step stitch so it'll be sewn together. You're going to be leaving both ends open, which is a little different, and we still need to turn this inside out. So it's a little bit of a little fussy kind of maneuver here, but we'll separate, try to find the opening here. And you can use a tool like this, which is a turning tool that's used in a lot of craft projects, as well as in making cards and origami and that kind of thing, because you can use it to fold and to burnish. And I'll leave a link in the description below for how to find this particular tool. And there are others that you can use as well. And so what you'll be doing is just pushing the edges into itself. So you kind of grab a hold of the fabric to separate it out to make a tunnel, and then push the edges in. So eventually we'll be able to grab the edge on the going out the other side. If you don't have a turning tool, you can also use a chopstick or a dowel rod like this, and you just inch it along. It takes a little fussing, but it'll work before you know it. There we go. We'll find this edge and pull this inside out. Now for the two long straps, when you folded those, when you flattened those straps, we have the seam on the outside so that the strap was then ironed straight like this with the strap, with the seam on the outside. But for this one, we'll be putting the seam right down the middle. And ideally, we'll come in here and open up this seam. Okay, so it'll be flat, so that it'll only be, one layer of fabric on one side and one the other. So see the difference? How we're going to have that flat like that so that it's open. So we'll kind of hope for the best, and we'll flatten this as we go. And we can work on the other end the same way. So open it up. There we go. And then just kind of finger press it in place the way we've done before. So making sure that's still open the proper way, and just it'll follow your finger actually quite nicely. So you can use that finger pressing technique that we talked about and used for making the tucks in the face of the Rakusu in the field. So smoothing that really nicely. Now you want to take that to your iron and give that a good press. And that way this will stay nice and flat, and these will be a nice crisp edge because you want that edge to match the shoulder strap or the neck strap. Then the next thing we'll do is to tuck in about a half an inch on one of the raw edges. It's really important to remember that none of the edges in your rakusu can be the raw edge. Everything has to have be tucked under or sewn under so that there aren't any raw edges. And the reason for that is it's actually going to save you a lot of grief. Let me actually see if I can smooth that down. Oops. I think I might have made it worse instead of better, but we'll get that in a sec. Because we want this to be, want it to be straight, and it's not important to measure exactly half an inch. It can be approximately that. There's plenty of room here for your ring attaching it, and you'll be trimming the excess. So they've given us a generous amount to work with. There we go. Okay, that worked. And so when you're doing that, just line it up, line up the two sides on your graph paper, and you'll see it'll fit in a nice parallel lines here with your graph paper, and then be straight across. And you can eyeball that with your graph paper, which is much easier than trying to measure and using a T-square, any of the other tools that you might find. But the graph paper kind of is the best tool of them all, I think. I really am a big fan. All right, so like I said, we're going to iron that. Now, I've gone ahead and make one for us already to work with. And we have the seam down the front, down the back, and the edge here. I guess I didn't mention that. When you look at your edge here, I still will have to. I'll fuss with that later. Then we'll sew that closed. And you can use an invisible stitch. The ladder stitch is one, or a whip stitch. And I'm going to be, later, I'll be making a video for you that will be all of the stitches in one video. So that way we'll have the basting and step stitch and the different slip stitch and ladder stitch, and the cross stitch, all those stitches can be on one video. And that way you can refer back just to that video if you're wanting to refresh your memory on a given stitch. So be watching for that. So this is the strip that will have the ring attached. So this will be the ring that we're going to be using. And for the ring, that's something that a lot of people are very curious about right away. And check with Munchen or your teacher and find out if there are, perhaps there's an artisan that is making the rings for the Zen Center. If you're with Upaya or another Zen Center, there are also some other resources. And I'll link to that in the description below of a couple of different places where you can get a custom ring or the traditional Japanese plastic ring, as well as the wooden rings that are available. This actually is made of stone instead of wood, but it looks like wood. So we'll be using that for our demonstration purposes. So our next step is to get our rakusu back out, and we're going to be attaching this guy onto this side. All right, but I want to make sure, and it'll line up just like this one did. Oops, knocking stuff over. And it'll be the inner tab. So this green, and remember yours are going to be black. It's black on black on black. And so yours, it's going to be really important then for you to be sure that you have the right strap going to the right direction. It's easier for me here because I know which the green is different from the blue. So I'll make sure that my strap is straight and not twisted, and make sure it goes all the way around flat. And then this end is going to be lining up with this side. So as I'm looking at the rakusu, what I've already sewn in place is on my left. It'll be on my right, obviously. I'm gesturing to myself, and you can't see. Okay, it's a little late. So this will be on your right side as you're wearing the rakusu, but as you're looking at it, we'll be calling this left and right, just to hopefully not get confusing. So with this green strip, eventually we'll be turning this under as well. And you can turn it under now if you like, but you're probably going to be trimming it. So when you are adjusting for the length, you'll be trying it on and making sure that it hangs properly. And I'll talk about that when we get to that step. And that way you'll know exactly how to measure the length of your rakusu to fit with your size. And so we'll have that, it's an adjustable thing. So, but what we're going to do right now is to place this here, and you can pin this here if you like. And that way we can gauge where this guy is going to go, or at strip L. All right. And then this, with this sewn edge here and the seam side down, then that will go right next door. So these two are buddies, and this one is the one strap that won't be interrupted at all. This is attached here. So again, don't sew this one yet because you're going to be adjusting it. You're probably going to, depending on your height, you might even be snipping off quite a bit. So you'll want to make sure that you keep this open so that you can then adjust it for your height. And then this one, we're going to go ahead and pin in place. And we're going to make sure that we don't crowd it too much. So it should be about the same. So when I look at, let's see, it's not really needed to be this precise. I shouldn't even need to be doing this because this isn't meant to be this precise. It's like I'm using this, the machine. What are those little gauges are that they use for machining different things. So I guess I am kind of doing that. All right. All right. So we'll snug that over. There we go. So that guy is going to be and I'm going to fuss with it a bit here so that we'll get it in where we want it right at the beginning. Kind of the do it right the first time philosophy. or measure twice or 3 or 4 times and then sew or cut once. All right, so then at this point, what I'll do is flip it over and I'm going to sew this in place. Oops. All right, so that'll be the same way we did here. I haven't been mentioning, and I should, that I have a little jar here. Oops, sorry. Then I have the little thread um, snippings and the basting stitches and all that I put in there. And from what I understand from people who are interested in and care for wild birds, it is not a good idea to have threads out in the wild for wild birds because their little babies can get the threads caught in their little legs. So we don't want to do that. Even though the birds are probably like, ooh, this is very pretty and like the little fluffy pieces for their nests, it can cause problems later down the road for the little babies. So we're going to keep those policed up and make sure that we don't put those just directly in the trash or compost heap or wherever. So we'll make sure that they stay away from any little birds. And let's just give this, oops, this is a nice angle in so that the knot will be hidden from view. All right. And again, we're going to be taking a look at, you are going to be using a quilting needle, which is much smaller than this embroidery needle that I'm using. And you'll be using your cotton quilting thread rather than this larger embroidery pearl cotton. And I'll be also making this, I make the stitches a little bit bigger than I would for a finished black rakusu so that you can visualize it a little bit better as I'm making it. All right, and it is important that when we dip our needle in, we want to be sure that, oops, well, really get in there. There we go. Okay, so then we want to make sure that we're not getting the outside of the strap. So once I'm here, I'm going to double check every single stitch that there is the needle is not showing. Okay, so I have to be firm with that. Because like I said, interestingly enough, in some Soto Zen rakusus and in other traditions, these straps are sewn on with a basting stitch or a back stitch, and you'll see that back stitch on the front. And it's kind of like little bricks, little bricks that go across, but we don't do that for the Upaya Rakusu. Now, let me check. Oh, okay, good. Almost felt like I got extra fabric, but it's okay. And give it a nice tug to be sure it's really in there solid. You do not want any wardrobe malfunctions in the Zendo. There we go. So no, it's a little tedious, but I promise it's much better to avoid having the stitch come through on the other side while you're stitching rather than, and just the needle, rather than having to take any stitches out. We do have a seam ripper, but we don't want to use it. Getting close here. And before we go through, make sure that it only took the inner layers. Excellent. There we go. Okay, let me make sure we got that one okay. Yep. And here we go. So now we're attached. Make a knot. Oh, here we go. Right. All right, now we're going to turn this back over. So this is now nicely attached. And we're going to adjust the top part here so that we can attach the ring. Alrighty. So that this L strip is going to be folded in. Try to move this see, best angle here for you to be able to see. Looks pretty good. And what we'll be doing is we're going to narrow this down, okay, by turning this. We're going to be folding this guy in and in. So as we do this, again, we're kind of another little fussy project a bit, because we want to make sure that we have a narrow strip to be able to attach the ring. Okay. And then it's kind of decorative as well, I guess. And when you fold this in, you don't want to have a lot of gap here because you don't want it to like bubble or be kind of an open, like a tunnel or anything there. So kind of like this. Because then all the way up, it'll be nice and narrow. Where did I put the pins? Okay, so we're gonna and the fabric, is kind of soft, so it's gonna want to fall apart, fall out. And so you just have to keep working it until you get this in place. There we go. Do just a little bit more. Keep it nice and flat. There we go. That's pretty good. And we're going to hang on to it. And and there we go. This all the way up. There we go. There, not bad at all. So then we've got that folded in, and we have a nice narrow tab at that end. Okay. So our next thing is now, you're going to want to take this to iron it and make sure that that they keep it the creases nicely. But then to put your ring on, you'll be putting the ring on on this strip. So this strip will be attached to your ring. See what I mean? So you'll be trimming the end on the other side and folding it in and attaching it that way. So let's turn this I can take this off. Just turn, let me pin it this way. There we go. So let's turn this over. All right. And then you'll see that on this edge is where you're going to want to, you'll be trimming this, and see there's a generous amount here, and we'll be attaching that here. And again, it's going to be folded up so that there are no raw edges. And I'm going to go ahead and move this. No, I didn't try this before when I was practicing. It might actually work well to use the clippies. Ooh, I think I like that. Oh, there we go. That's much better. All right. So as you can see, we have pretty much this in half. So you have, that's about the width that you're going to have for that whole thing. And we will be, and actually we can trim part of this because we're going to have, let me measure this. How much do I have over? I think I use this guy. From here to here, about 1.5 inches. And I'll be putting in, I only want 1 inch. So it's really not too bad. I can, if I can manage to get this tucked in, 1/2 inch. Oh yeah, no, that's too much, actually. I am gonna, I'm gonna cut this off a bit. So that's actually enough of a straight edge right there. There we go. That's our bravery test to trim that off. And then get in here and we're gonna tuck this end in. Because again, we can't have any raw edges. So use any tools at your disposal to tuck that in, since it's going to be in several folds. There we go. Looking good. We don't look good yet on the surface, but we're actually getting there. Hang on. We are getting there. are. Be brave and take the clips out while we tuck this in. Get finally kind of cooperated with me here. And I'm always, always thinking, oh my gosh, I should have, done this ahead or, um, done all this fuss budgety stuff off camera. But, this is how it works. I mean, this is for me anyway. And I don't make rakusus every day. I kind of would like to because I enjoy that. But this part is kind of fussy, and um, so don't feel bad if it's fussy for you. You know what I mean? Because oh look, success. So hopefully, actually, that you might even find that it works even easier for you. You might be more of a strap whisperer than I am. But there we go. Let's kind of, and actually we can just kind of adjust that to hit right on that edge and then come out for it to be nice and even. All right. Oops, don't want to undo my work here. There we go. There, that's better. And pull that over. And then we have this ready to attach right here. I'm going to use the clips. Yep, that's still good. Make sure our pins are still there. And actually, I kind of moved it up a bit. Oh, that's better. There we go. So, like I said, I really don't want to have demonstrations that are just everything goes perfectly and smoothly and no glitches, because that's really not fair to you either, because you're not going to have that happen. It's going to be always having little issues that come up, and so it's really important not to be discouraged if that happens. And now you may have yours go very smoothly and say, oh, what was the problem? What was Cheryl's problem? But if not, like I said, just keep keep working with it because it will work, and it just can sometimes take a little time to fuss with all the details. Okay, we're gonna make a knot. Oops. Oh, and we have a natural place right here for that knot to go. We can just tuck him right in that groove. And here you're going to be able just to go in the top tunnel right here. You don't need to go through all the layers. You just go through the top. And do remember, and also remember that this is a double thread. So your cotton thread will be doubled. This is an embroidery thread, so don't really need to do that. But definitely double your thread. And as you give your stitches, be sure you give them a nice tug and that they're in there real good and solid. Take fairly small stitches. So you get lots of good coverage here. So when you give that extra tug, sometimes it'll pucker a little bit. So be sure to kind of pull that out so that it's nice and straight. And yet you have a nice firm um, seam line there. And then here's a good place to come all the way through. There's a lot going on right here, I guess. But when you right on the top of the frame, where in my case is blue, and then I can go through the thicker layers right here and go through all of them right in that corner. So it's a little harder to pull out, but you can do it. All right, then I'll make a nice knot. Okay, let's go through the top. And just keeps the tail under wraps. Tension on that and just snip it real close. Right. So let's take a look here. Fingers crossed. There we go. And let's remove these pins. And we'll just kind of give it a little sweet talking. Um, you can still use your iron and give it a little touch up if you need to. I've often found that just the finger pressing is more than enough. But you can see that nice V shape, and that's attached now to your Rakusu field. So now we have these two straps attached and this one attached, and this one remains unattached at the moment. And the next episode will be to take this strap, the inner strap here, and we're going to be able to then attach it here, kind of like a man's necktie, or we'll be looping it onto this ring, and we'll also then be adjusting this strap. So that way, these two straps are going to be determining how long, how far down the rakusu goes when you wear it, when you're standing or when you're sitting. And you'll also want to make sure that your straps are even, so that they stay together and aren't, two different lengths. But we'll be going through all the adjustments for that. And we're getting very close, because after the adjustments and making sure that these are attached and any little sewing left over to be done here, then we'll be putting on the plaquette and doing the broken pine needle stitch embroidery. So we are very, very close. We're getting there. So hopefully you're happy with your progress so far. And if you do have any issues or questions or comments, if any of these things seem a little bit daunting, don't hesitate to email sewingsanga@gmail.com, or leave your comments or questions in the comment section below. And that way everyone will get the benefit of hearing the question and hopefully the answer. So we'll continue on, and there we go. So thanks so much for listening, and thanks for watching and coming back for more, so that you can create this rakusu for your jukai. And I hope that you are enjoying making it, even when there are times that it's a little fussy or have a little problems here and there. But at the end, the rakusu will certainly be your own, and be a very intimate part of your practice. And I certainly appreciate all of the efforts that you're doing in doing that, and looking into the precepts and considering taking the vows, the bodhisattva vows, to live by vow. I honestly believe that it will change the world to do that, and to have that opportunity. And especially to be in Roshi Jones' lineage, I think is very special. And we have a beautiful opportunity to be able to do that. So thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.